Today's guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He was a key component that shaped the MTV era we all grew up with. Emmy Award-winning Vinnie Potestivo had his thumbprint on launching the careers of people like Mandy Moore, Ashton Kutcher, Nick Cannon, before creating his own visibility empire. He's about to break down his exact blueprint for getting discovered in these crowded creator streets. So if you've been creating killer content, but still feel invisible to potential clients, this conversation is for you. So please welcome to Dealcasters, our friend in a bit of a snowstorm, shall we say, Mr. Vinnie Potestivo. How are you doing, man?
Yo, good, man. How are you? Yes, I feel like a live weather reporter. You know, it's turbulent out here. I don't know if I'm talking about the creator economy or the weather. It's turbulent out here. You know, just be prepared for turbulent times, guys. Together, I don't know what's coming ahead of the future, but we're the ones to make it. So, you know, what better time than to start focusing on the future?
I love it. I love it. You're gonna be the creator snowplow in these creator streets, man. You're just gonna be coming down and just creating more visibility.
No, the answer is no. I do not. No, it's duck season, not rabbit season.
You know, Vinny, I mentioned this in the introduction. It didn't take you long to head to the top of the PodMatch charts as far as being somebody who has guested on a lot of shows. And I know it's a huge part of you know what you do personally, but also what you teach other people to do as far as being a podcast guest. I really wanted to start there. You know, so it's kind of meta because you are a guest of this show today. But I think a lot of people know that being on a lot of shows is a good strategy. And so, but they don't have a strategy before they actually do it. They just jump in and just, do the sprint and then get to the end of it after they've done X amount of shows. And they might not have much to show for it because they didn't have that strategy before they went in and did it. But I know you definitely do have one. I'd love to start there. And, and also I do want to go back a little bit and kind of talk a little bit about, your history too. But can we start there with a strategy around podcast guesting and how that can be an origin for a lot of that visibility?
Yeah, the answers are the same. For me, it's all about networking. I use networks to network, and I know networks need stars. So to touch on my past, I come from building talent development departments for many cable networks. Predominantly, one is MTV, MTV2, MTV3, and a couple of the MTV properties from 1998 to 2007. It's weird to say that I built a department that was based on listening to the people who were already in it. Like, we had celebrities coming in to promote their albums, but no one was giving them an audience to share creative ideas beyond their videos. Like, MTV was okay to commission videos from them, but not long form programming. I don't think MTV figured that out yet. And that was a big part of what I got to do, is help what turned out to be a lot of female-centric and female-centered businesses and celebrities. I helped them recenter their narrative by giving them the cameras and giving them the opportunity to tell a story. The Osbournes, Jessica Simpson with Newlyweds. The story I got to tell with Ashton Kutcher is, how do you take the #1 film actor, TV actor in the world, who's not a producer, who's not an executive producer, who doesn't have a production company, and you give him the one thing that he needs. And as a network, MTV was able to do that. And Johnny Knoxville and Ashton Kutcher and Jessica Simpson. And I can list so many giant stars that got their kick start on MTV. Mandy Moore was a VJ. Ashley Simpson was a host. Yeah. I got to cast Beyoncé in her first film, and MTV Films straight to TV hip opera. It was called Carmen and Hip Opera.
I remember
it was about building. It was about building that out, and I got to do that on a network level. Networks need stars, and they need those stars to be big, self-contained entities. Like Johnny Knoxville. Yes, everyone knows. Maybe you're aware he got his start from MTV. Maybe Jackass used to be on TV.
Yeah.
Well, we grew up watching it, so for us it's embedded. But for the new audience, they might not know he was daily on a TV network. Ashton wasn't seen as a host on MTV. The Osbournes weren't necessarily seen as like on-air talent for MTV. It was more of a collaborative environment. And that's what I created. In networking on networks, I networked in that space. Like that's what I created.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing on PodMatch. The same exact mentality I have at MTV.
Wow.
If you're in the building, yo, doors open. Come on up to my office. I listen, I talk, I get people excited about projects. I make things happen. It's like I sell you a cute little puppy, but then you teach it how to like, that's what I do.
Right.
What a gift to be able to give momentum and direction to these projects. I use networks to network, and I know they need stars. So instead of trying to be on as many podcast episodes as I can, I try to make as much impact in a small audience of people. Now, PodMatch is a brilliant platform.
Absolutely.
It's curated. Yeah. There's intention behind how you get there, and you have to pay to get on it. So there's by paying to get on it, you're now forced. People are going to respond quicker. They're going to show up more because they're invested not only in themselves, but in their businesses.
Right.
And if I can give those people the first opportunity, the same way I was able to give, you mentioned Nick Cannon and Mandy Moore and Ashton Kutcher. So I was able to give them their first experience, and they never forgot me. And I'm still a part of their success today. That's because of the relationships I have, the networks that I have. It's a personal connection. A lot of people worked at MTV who don't have the relationships that I had, because I was good at spending MTV's money and making sure Nick Cannon knew. I did. I knew that the Osbournes were getting $1 million bonus checks when a certain number was hit on their episodes. I turned around to Nick and I said, while we're negotiating Wild and Out, throw this in there, because like they approved it in here. So like if it got approved once, it's going to get approved again. And then ask for more. Like, let's level it up. But networking, picking PodMatch, 13,000 people, PodMatch as a platform that connects podcasters to opportunity, not just each other, but to opportunities that I'm integrated into. I'm not just collaborating with Alex and the owners and the people at PodMatch I'm integrated into PodScore, which is their AI score, which will tell you how you're doing as a podcaster. And if you need more visibility, it will literally recommend me as the output. Like I'm the input to its output. That's from networking, and that's what the intention is around PodMatch. And the cool thing about PodMatch is PodMatchers become speakers and keynote speakers, and they attend conventions and they attend meetings, and they bring me in with them. And it's just been a very rewarding process. PodMatch.
Yeah, we had a guest on probably, 6 weeks ago, Neil Schaefer, who wrote Digital Threads. And the way he uses PodMatch, and maybe you do the same thing, Vinny, is, he gets his inbox just gets pounded with people that want to be on his podcast or that are asking him to be on theirs. And he has a blanket boilerplate response, which is, I do all of my podcasting through PodMatch. So here's my affiliate link. And if you want to join PodMatch, or maybe you already are on PodMatch, this is where we connect. This is where I will be on your show or you'll be on my show. This is how we do it. So he uses it as his concierge for doing all of that. And what it does is it qualifies actual people who are serious about doing it. It isn't just some, buddy who's just, sending out 28 podcast, things in their email every day. It's like you can use PodMatch as a way for you to say, hey, I'm exclusively using this platform to do it. So if you're serious about me being on your show, you might want to join PodMatch, and then we could do work. And by the way, you're welcome, because this is a great platform for you to do exactly what you're saying.
It's a really smart strategy. I do something similar, and I don't mind revealing, because this is kind of cool when I hear what other people are doing.
The first secret number one, ladies and gentlemen.
Secret number one to PodMatch. So I exclusively lean into booking myself on PodMatch. So when I meet somebody and they'd like to book me, I say, here's my guest booking sheet. If you'd like to, you can exclusively book me through PodMatch. And I actually send them to my short link, which is vpe.tv/bookme. And that will take you to my actual guest member profile on PodMatch, which also doubles as an affiliate link. So if I have people land on my profile page who then are incentivized to book me, and the reason you might be incentivized to book me is because you get paid to interview me through PodMatch. And the benefit of that, and I'll reveal this too, the benefit of that for me as an affiliate link is, right now, what is out there, 20% kickback on the affiliate from PodMatch, and it's a $60 product. I get almost $12 to $15, I think, 12 something per person that signs up as a result of that. The other thing I do is I have a branded bit.ly link. So as you mentioned, I just said vpe.tv/book me. If people are using bit.ly, bit, .ly, now you get brought to an intermediary page, which is a bit.ly in between page before you can get to the actual page that you're getting to. I'm using the same technology. It literally costs $300 a year, and I'm giving you a branded experience, and it helps me remember these better. So I do a lot of pitching on scale on PodMatch as well. I use an app called TextBlaze. It's actually a Chrome extension, and I think we're going to send you guys a link. Anything that I'm talking about here, fully documented, and you guys, if you go to the show notes, we'll be able to get it. And anyone who comes here, I'm happy to. Let's say this: if I'm going to give you a link for my creatorhubpro.com, which is my brand new community that I just literally launched a few days ago.
Nice.
And I'm happy to have anyone who watches this to steepen, continue to the conversation and support. But TextBlaze allows me with I do slash and a couple of keys, and then it automatically pulls up at scale my bio, my pitch letter, my response letter, my confirmation letter, like all the little things that I have to do repetitively over and over again. The benefit is that if I have a team that's working virtually and they're working from my Chrome browser, they also have access to the exact system and the exact words that I use. So that allows me to, be in multiple places at once, because now my team is using the exact words that I use when I'm locking in a team. And I'm pretty specific about how I like to lock those things in.
I love that. So TextBlaze is a Chrome extension then?
The Chrome extension, yeah.
Yeah, it sort of plays into as I was, going through your content again, prepping for the show, there was this phrase that I'm not sure where I saw it on your website or where I saw it, and it's about this, and it's automation. And you said something like automation doesn't mean losing your voice, it means protecting your energy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people need to understand that. Like things like Text Expander and TextBlaze and things like that seem like that's not that big of a deal. But like when you really want to scale up what you're doing, like it gets old going to, your Google Doc that you've got or your notes and all of the copy paste and all that kind of stuff. After a while, you're like, I spent probably an hour doing that crap, when I could just be hitting a hash.
I'm Gen X.
VPE.
So for me, inbox. You know what I mean? I'm still Gen X. So I still send myself emails as a reminder. I use my inbox as my to-do list.
No, you don't do that.
I do. It's okay. We all have our systems.
Right. I'm going to put this to the top of my inbox. That'll remind me.
Yeah, I'm going to flag this.
Nice.
Yeah, sometimes we have to
ask me how many unreads. Ask me.
So Vinny, a question I have, because you were, back in the days of the network, so to speak, and now you've kind of, I guess, shifted into this world of, we'll call it, podcasting. Do you see it also is it video podcasting that you think is really what people need to focus on? And, are the networks in a sense going away? And is it more of like the streaming platforms? And where should people look to grow that's going to get them, I guess, that network that's going to grow for them?
They should look internally at themselves. That's where the answer is. I promise you. You should be focused on creating what you can, not what you should. I do not believe that my TV franchises that are still on air are relevant today because I was conscious of what the Gen X audience was going through in 2001. I think it's because I created content for myself based on a format that I thought could support a real conversation about challenge. And that's why I believe The Challenge is still one of the biggest shows on MTV to this day, physical and emotional. It was built that way. And I fought for that host, TJ, who's on that show now for that. So there's a real intention behind that. And I think that that's just something to really be mindful of. Also, I'm not letting these systems, and I'm not letting SEO, and I'm not letting social media tell me who I am. Like in 2025, this is the year of self-determination. We're shifting from an implied reputation to an explicit reputation. And this is where the people who are explicit are going to crush us. Because when Gemini and GPT and Google and Bing trust you are what it thinks you are, it will show you more often as a result for searches than the implication you have because you wrote a book and it makes you an expert, or you got a lot of follows or likes or engagement on a social media post and you're an expert, because GPT doesn't see that. GPT is looking at the explicit, and it's beyond metadata now.
Yeah.
You know, it's beyond that. And we have the ability now to do that. We share a really good friend, a very good common friend of ours, who's a brilliant business strategist who completely helped me shift and change my entire digital reputation so that I can bring in what I did offline to the online, is Judy Fox. And the profile she helped me build on LinkedIn so that I don't have to post every single day to get ongoing visibility, and that my comments stand out, and that when I do post, there's a structure that I can lean into that I trust. I don't care if no one watches or is listening. In fact, to be honest, I'm lucky on those days because I got to say what I wanted to say without tremendous lashback, like unfortunately some people deal with in this world when they actually say the things they want. So like I know that as a gift because you know, I know again how those networks work, but I use those networks to network. We met in a meeting. We met through professional friends who put us, I meet meetings to meet people. This is weird, guys. I use networks to network. I use meetings to meet people.
What are you
doing? Then I set the scene. I set the scene to be seen. You know what I mean? I know it's like I'm literally playing like in the sandbox with 3-year-olds. I feel like I'm like, do you like me? I like you too. Let's support each other.
Right.
And what a better way to create content than to guess what's out there. And you know what's going to happen? Who cares about the networks? When Netflix opens up its creator portal and triples Netflix is the #1 media platform in terms of size on the planet. YouTube is doing tremendous in terms of monetization, but Netflix in terms of reach and in terms of consumption is gigantic. When Netflix triples, meaning it opens up a creator portal for creators like us and creatives like us who are creating mid-form and long-form content to be able to put on a sexy address like Netflix, the same way we have an Instagram account or a YouTube account. If you were on Amazon Prime from 2015 to 2019, 2020, one night in 2020, I think it was like in March, all of a sudden one night they wiped everybody's video podcast off. If it was a static cam, it's Amazon owned. So if you talked about a book that you were selling, you could be an expert with a book, but if you were selling that book, it put it into a sales show. And that was a big win for me to be able to have a sexy address for our content. YouTube is a sexy address. People know what to expect and what that reaction will be. Netflix is going to crush it. It's going to crush television. And we, the people, get to upload our content. And then you know what's going to happen? We're going to get paid like creators do on YouTube. And now all of this content that we're making here, which to be honest, it's a little mid. no offense. I love you guys so much. But like if you're watching long form, it's a little
That's
mid.
actually a compliment. I was thinking we were low mid, so appreciate that, man.
Low mid. You're like MTV in like the 90s. I want to turn you on, and I just need to listen to it, but I don't need to watch what's happening. I just need to be I just want it in the room, like the atmosphere, the community. That's gonna dominate Netflix. If you have an opportunity to actually engage and create community and dialogue, that's where I think YouTube is gonna. So live engagement, anything live and interactive, I can see YouTube dominating in the future. Netflix, for us who've been creating content, if it's in 4K, if you've got clean audio, like there are going to be those platform directives that guarantee the users who are paying a high quality experience. So it's not that they care about having 4K, it's that they don't want to have to take off 720 or 1080 because the experience is caca and they're charging us $20 a month to watch it.
Right. It's like you find something on YouTube and it's still in standard def and it's got the black bars on the side and you're just like, oh, and it's like that wasn't that long ago.
That's like my highlight reel for my entire TV career. What are you talking about?
No, but this is actually, I love that you went here because one of the things that I wanted to get your perspective on, Vinny, was taking this content and putting it on these, sort of the rented land, right? This is, whether we're talking about Netflix or Amazon or Facebook, right? Recently said, hey, these live streams were 30 days or older, we're taking it down. Well, that's because nobody was really going and watching them and their hard drives were getting bloated. So shame on you, Facebook. But they used to have podcasts. Well, that was a failed experiment for Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'm sure you're well aware of all the changes that they've gone through over just in recent times. So, how do you yourself, but also the people that you work with, kind of help to navigate through all of these changes while still making content, right, and developing content that is evergreen, regardless of wherever you're planning?
Yeah. That's brilliant. All right. So a couple of things. First off, it starts with intellectual property. Like if I start anywhere, it's that in America, when you have a creative idea, when you execute that idea and you actually demonstrate it and publish it and show it on a platform other than social media, you have tremendous rights. So podcasting gives you tremendous intellectual property rights because you're no longer premiering your content in a shared space on a shared network. You're premiering your content on a platform that on a server space that you own, that you choose to connect the distribution models to. You choose through your RSS feed, right? If you wanted to be on Spotify or on Apple or YouTube, wherever it is. So you get to choose that. So there's that version of television. There's the traditional broadcast model. There's obviously connected TV, CTV. So CTV is connected TV, which means that it's streaming and you're connected to the internet. And a lot of CTV looks like fast TV networks. Fast TV, FAST, is an acronym for free ad-supported television. And there are two types of fast networks, AVODs and SVODs. AVODs are advertiser video on demand, which we know as, they're free and we have to watch commercials. Subscription video on demand, which obviously we pay a premium, like HBO, for example. So we're not expecting to see. And now there's this hybrid. Right. So those are just an understanding of some of the platforms that are out there. Who cares about those? I'm having so much fun on Delta TV and airline TV and gas TV and elevator TV. I can actually guarantee 1,000 30-second video plays of your podcast, non-skippable, non-fast forwardable, non-swipeable. Guarantee, the commercials you gotta watch on Peacock or Paramount Plus if you're watching anything less than the $1 billion version. Right. By the way, 1,000 impressions for $25. So think about this. Think about this model. Think about this model. So now you're airing in the advertising space as a 30-second ad, right? Why would you want to do that? Well, because experts sell things, right? We know experts sell products because that's who products and services pick to represent them. So what if we were to go to some of your favorite brands, for example, and say, we're going to take out an ad that's going to promote your product. Here's the script. It's an implied endorsement. We're creating it. We make it. We own it. And you know what? We're going to use a link that's either going to give us 50% of the split, or you can buy some rights and we can have some, we can play around with this area. And also you do have to make sure I bring up the affiliate piece. You do have to make sure if you are running an affiliate campaign, it does not aggravate the terms of service, because there are a lot of affiliate organized groups that do not allow you to take out ads for this reason, because then you end up driving the ad dollar, which makes this person spend even more, because now you're competing against each other, and chances are this person is the owner. So you don't want to make them spend more money on their own product, but that's ultimately what happens.
Yeah.
So I would say if you own the content, if it's intellectual property that you own flat out, there is no chance that you are not going to have an opportunity to share the product that you want and have it land the way that you want. If you only focus on the availability of what's out there now, because there are more platforms out there today than there were yesterday. And there are also less of the same ones that were here yesterday, meaning there's more platforms more networks that are coming up and down. And these networks are doing the same thing. They're buying into intellectual property, and it's our intellectual property in the podcast community that's making podcasting grow so fast. It's our episodes. Yay, balloons.
We have a party all of a sudden on the show. I like that.
Party in the USA, y'all. So in other words, my goal now, I would not try to sell a TV show to a network and let them own the content. I would not. What happened in the 90s when I was in TV, Tyra Banks would go to the Nordic countries, sell top model to the Nordic countries, retain ownership of intellectual property, then come back to the States and license it to America to do top model America, top model Australia. And the business model is different. So I would say now that so much of development no longer happens in television because there's not a lot of television anymore, and most of film development has always happened either on the on the writer side or on the production company side. Podcasts are the best place to be developing content. And to be honest, if I had $1 billion scripted movie idea, I would first write a 30-minute scripted podcast as a proof of concept, and also to be able to license that idea moving forward. So it does, if you do own the content, you can get a lot done. I take episodes of my podcast, and I'm still doing it with one that Mandy Moore did. I literally just sent it into Delta. I know it's going to be on Delta the entire month of May, a nice 4-minute episode that I'm embedding in a client's show. So I have the ability also to network. And I ask people, hey, you got a show, 30 minutes. That's a lot of content. Hey, I can give you 4 minutes of me and Mandy Moore. You want that? And I just got a minute with me and Beyoncé on my last episode of my podcast. I have a podcast where she literally listened to my episode and then mansplained her father to me, which is like genius.
Oh my God.
Because he basically mansplained her career the entire time too. So
yeah, we could have many conversations about Matthew Knowles. I could promise you that having worked for Sony for a number of years, and him trying to launch some other artists besides Beyonce and Destiny's Child. But yeah, so I have a podcast.com, folks, that are listening. Make sure that you go to ihaveapodcast.com as well as vpe.tv. That's just a huge amount of great information, for sure, that like I had no idea we were going there, but I think no, it really is inspiring, Vinny, when you think about this, because I think when we think about the word podcast and we see and hear podcast, we think people sitting around a table with microphones in their face, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, we had a previous guest who talked about this bubble bursting potentially soon, right? It's just after a while, people are just going to get sick of seeing and hearing the same thing.
Yeah, that's what they said about reality TV.
Right, exactly. And so, but I think we don't have to completely throw it away. It just needs some massaging. It needs some let's create experiences and shows, right? That, you can call it a podcast. You want to call it a podcast. A lot of people call things podcasts that I would never call a podcast, but whatever, the people will decide what they want. It really is about creating something that's informational, entertaining, creates emotional experience and all of those kinds of things. So when you're working with people and you bring up the word podcast and you want to do that, do people immediately, do you have to work through let me shut this down because I don't want to, be the Joe Rogan sitting in the mothership with the table and and all of the microphones, coming up with something creative that really works within their brand? How do you work with someone from that respect?
Yeah, I got to be honest. It's so funny. I don't find myself defending podcast very much. I also I didn't defend reality TV in in the 2000s either. I think if I were to really reflect on this, is a little hard for me to say this because it's going to come across a little unmodest, but I think people trust people. And I know the levers to pull, and I know what's going to get greenlit. And sometimes I intentionally don't put that on the table because I know what your goal is. And if you're sitting here telling me you're afraid of looking like Snooki, and then I'm asking you, well, what do you do what are you going to give us? What type of footage are you going to give me that's going to make me say, oh, guys, we can go in this direction, but maybe we shouldn't? What are you going to do? It's that intention that really matters. I think that the change in where I was in TV, when I was in TV in the 90s, I worked with the biggest creators who were already tapped into their audience. So they're, from a network perspective, we had more trust with those artists who told us what their communities wanted, because we know their communities built our audience. And I think this is the thing that I continue to do over and over again. And also Matthew Knowles talks about this in the episode. It was intentional to have Destiny's Child come together and then have Michelle and Beyonce, have everyone go out, do their own thing and come back and forth. There's a reason why Judy Fox and I do things together and separately. YouTube probably too have the same exact sort of benefit of that. That's what the Kardashians had that no one else had in their series, was a multitude. So in TV, we call them story engines, because it's the same place where the story is always going to come from. The Kardashians have the story engine of Kim and the family, parents and kids, family and, press, general pop, a lot of story engines to pull from consistently over and over again. I think that's when you talk about like evergreen content, it's like the consistency of the story mechanism. I think that's also why Ridiculousness does so well on MTV, and it's evergreen, because it's like you're picking up where everyone fails. You know exactly what to get. My favorite evergreen content hack, my number one favorite of all times, that probably got me the most money directly, is creating GIFs and then uploading them to Giphy on one library, and Tenor, which is Microsoft's version of that. Tenor feeds LinkedIn and Twitter and a lot of Android devices, Giphy on the Meta side, and that.
I love that you went here, because this is a part of the visibility blueprint. So please, I don't want to interrupt, but this is because
cool
is that I use Descript a lot in repurposing content. Dude, you have no idea how many times you've showed up when I've typed in, like, if somebody in a podcast mentions LinkedIn, and I go into the GIF section, and I love that you call it a GIF, but then you call it Giphy. Like, what is that?
I'm like the Gen X thing. I still don't get it, and it's so distracting, and it's like a gimmick now. But it so takes people away from the goal. But they're GIFs on Giphy, right? Is that how you call it? Did I get it wrong?
I think you got to pick one, man. I think
it's just one or the other.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if you're calling it Giphy, then you got to call it a GIF.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, I win, Jim. I win.
So
GIF
that happens here.
No, but you have shown up
for everything. Now it is, and so it is, and so it's written.
Yeah. So there's like there's GIFs of you, and there's GIFs of you and Judy, and so it's like, so that shows up everywhere, and I can't, and every time it does, and I have put you in some clips, by the way.
Thank you.
So hopefully you got a couple of shekels from that happening. But like, so how on earth does one do that? And what kind of, like, is it just sort of like marketing, like putting yourself on a billboard, so to speak? Or have you seen some sort of, or felt some sort of way in terms of the GIFs?
So the way that the GIFs work, the GIFs that keep gifting, it's hashtag searchable too. And I can really create a couple of different keyword searches. So the thing that I think impresses people the most is when they say the word LinkedIn and my face pops up. And this is something that I uploaded. To answer your question, I get 0 shekels because I signed away my name, image, and likeness when I uploaded that video to Tenor and to Giphy intentionally, knowing that I was adding myself to the public access of user-generated content. So what I didn't know was CapCut and Descript and AI video was coming. Now, anytime anybody mentions LinkedIn in a video and they don't choose a video other than mine, I'm the video that pops up. LinkedIn executives have called me out on this. LinkedIn executives email me. They snapshot it for me. I know for a fact that amongst themselves, they get a giggle that I'm that person.
It's positive calling out. They're not going, hey, you didn't.
Oh no,
it was
brilliant. Yeah. Okay. They're like, hey, how come you're the face for LinkedIn? I'm like, you know why? Because you're not. Y'all. People trust people.
I'm first.
And you're
out
here with the blue box. Yeah, exactly. And they're like, well, how come you got to run and I didn't? And I'm like, yo, you're not even at bat. You got to get up.
Wow.
So that's a big reason why. Also, Judy showed me that. Judy brought me into the gifts. We're going with gifts or gifs.
I'm sorry, man. Pick one. Seriously,
I forgot. Just say it.
Whatever you want to say. Vinny,
what do you call it? Giphy?
A gift.
Then it's GIF. Yeah, a gift.
Okay, we're going with gifts.
Yeah, it's not Jif peanut butter. We're giving you a gift.
Yeah, Jif
and the gift
butter.
is say
that's
GIF.
the worst thing you can tell me. Now I'm going to be like, it's like the peanut butter. It's exactly. So this gift that keeps giving has brought me together to people. Like I'll have friends. They'll be like, oh my gosh, you were on so-and-so's, clip. That's so weird. So I'll reach out to them. I'll be like, hey, I'm the guy in your clip. And you're like, all right. I'm like, well, like, do you want to give me credit or like follow me or something? They're like, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, no, AI is going to rip us apart or bring us together. You choose what happens next,
That's
buddy.
pressure.
But I'm just asking you to pick me, choose me, love me. And like, and I joke around, but it also allows me to be in conversations that I'm not in presently. It allows people to bring, I have a lot of intention on the energy I want to create. So that a lot of them are fun, happy, jumping, clapping, celebrating. And the other thing is that I know people look at Giphy as a place where celebrities go. They think that only celebrities can go there. The same exact way, guys, you're on this Amazon, the same way Amazon owns IMDb and my favorite hack that's cost $0. If you want to change your Google search or your Google image search or your Google video search instantly, is to get credit on IMDb. And you own intellectual property, which means we have access to be on IMDb. And because I'm a guest on your podcast, the old implied way that we would grow this is that we're experts. We had so and so on the podcast and it was great and you got to go watch it. Now we're going to create a data point that formally connects us three entities together that will be searchable, that's indexed by the largest search engine on the planet, probably universe, but let's not go crazy. I can't even say Jiffy anymore, so I just want to restrict myself.
There we are. We're on IMDb, so put your podcast on IMDb, folks. Absolutely.
Big. Giant. You can't consume content there, but you watch trailers. How many movies can you talk about that you've only seen the trailer and you've never even seen the actual movie? I can, unfortunately, Godfathers, a lot of those, any Harry Potter movie. I think I've seen a lot of the trailers, but the whole movie, I don't think. But I can still talk about them.
It's a lot. That's a lot. That's
not me, not you, and not you, Harry. Like I can quote them even. Get out of here.
For years, my kids, would quote Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I've seen probably 17 times if I really had to think about it. And there would be like, oh, just about a flesh wound. And I'll be like, my kids saw Monty Python and Holy Grail. I was like, no, I watch clips on YouTube. Well, okay, of course.
I'm not dead yet.
Right, exactly. Not dead yet. All right, so let's just get back to the blueprint. We're having too much fun. Let's grow up and be serious.
If it's not fun, it's not shareable, and that's what it's all about, right?
Dude,
PodMatch,
seriously.
Having a blast.
Seriously,
Giphy, we're making visibility fun with Giphy. Come on, people don't share things anymore. They share content. They share assets. They don't no water cooler moments. No more of that.
Right. So let's get back to the blueprint, though. We could still have fun, talk about blueprints, right? Fun with blueprints.
Yeah,
there's the new title.
Fun with blueprints. There you go.
So I think a lot of people in our audience really have this struggle, which is gaining visibility. It feels like, for people that I talk to, that there's just so much out there. There's so much noise, especially now everybody's hitting the big AI button, and now they have even more. Which I have my opinions on that, which I have made known. Is that we need to be more tactical with that content than ever before to rise above that noise. But how do people rise above? How can you work with somebody to say, okay, this is what's going to rise you up and get you noticed? And, you talked about the podcast content being specific, but their branding really overall. How is it that, for instance, there's a ton of people that show up like this on the internet, have conversations with people, talk about marketing, entrepreneurship, tech items, all of that kind of stuff. What does it take for someone to say, hey, this is my differentiator. This is something that I can use and really take up a hill and be patient so people will follow me up it?
That's a great question. If you're not lucky enough to be able to answer that question yourself, there's a couple of external ways to think about this, but I want to reflect in first before I start giving you some of the
Please.
external signals that will help you get there. First and foremost, and again, I'm going to bring up Judy for this. Well, I would just say it this way. I think that the best brands are castles and have giant walls and are very clear and very precise on how and when you are allowed to and how we are supposed to connect with each other. So like creating brand walls and having the visibility of knowing how you want to be approached allows you to figure out how to use some of these tools, for example. Instagram is a good example for me. Instagram is a little overwhelming. It's creative based. There's an adrenaline component to it. It's really about consumption and sharing. And the act of sharing is measured and weighed in success of you getting more reach. So you're incentivized to create more dopamine driven content to get more shares. And like, what I don't love about the Instagram platform is that it's based on that dopamine and is based on that feed. And if I'm not scrolling the feed, I almost miss out on Instagram. So what I did is lean deeply into DMs, and I use that broadcast feature on Instagram. Okay. And my link in bio will take you to a broadcast channel where I, in real time, am providing you with links and the opportunity to have a real conversation back and forth with me. That's not going to go away in 24 hours. That's not going to go away in 30 days or in 24 hours or whatever device or story or platform, however you want to do it. I hate to quote Cher because she didn't tell me this personally. I overheard, Cher doesn't do anything that's not going to be relevant 5 years from now. And like how I want to perceive that here is I'm guaranteed tomorrow. And I woke up today knowing that I'm guaranteed tomorrow. I'm willing to bet my life on it. I'm willing to bet my life that tomorrow is going to happen. And if it's not, then tomorrow's going to be a very sad day for me. It will be the one day of my life that I got it wrong. But all the other days, I'm going to guarantee myself that tomorrow's coming. I'm not going to, and I understand there's like scare tactics about like, no, hurry up and do something today because you're not guaranteed tomorrow. So to try to hurry up to get you to do something today because you don't know if tomorrow's going to happen. But let's just say tomorrow is going to happen. Okay. And today already is. Wouldn't you rather be spending your time today making tomorrow easier than trying to catch up today? Like if I could just take a day off and I'm going to make tomorrow easier, that's how you catch up. That's how you set brands ahead. And that's why I think celebrities in the 90s, 2000s had the ability to go away during albums and then come back and have tremendous growth. There was this charge and recharge, but there was action connected to that recharge. Yeah. The charge is the creative process. I'm charging, I'm thinking, I'm creating. Recharging is when I'm actually spending that information and I'm putting it out there. That's guided. And for me, the people I worked with who were the most successful were the ones who were guided, not the ones who just wanted to make noise and be famous and have their content out there. They were the ones who had to come out with an album so they can fight for our rights. And they're still doing the same exact thing now too. My voice just dropped. Oh, I sound like my grandma when I get very serious.
You do.
But you know what? They need that stop, and then look ahead. You want to get ahead on your downloads on podcasting? There's one thing you can do today that will probably double your podcast numbers tomorrow. If you've been a podcaster for a couple of months, let alone a couple of years, chances are it's been a while since you took your podcast RSS link and went around to all of the brand new podcast networks that are around globally. I mean, like English speaking American built content is gigantic in England and Ireland and Australia and India and giant places that have giant audiences that are dying to tap into our knowledge base. You want to double your numbers, double your distribution. You don't even need to create more context. I'm not even saying create context over content because I think we create too much content in general. If we made more context of our content, if we released source material that we could then talk about over and over again, as opposed to episode after episode after episode for the sake of, well, I guess it depends on the business model. There's still an advertising model that I know is sacred in the act of being repetitive as a video distributor. Although for me, I truly think that the strongest form of consistency is in branding. It's not in the amount of times that you show up. It's in where and how you show up that matters more. I really, truly do. And it goes back to the network. MTV was a sexy place in 99, 2000, 2001. There weren't many projects that we worked on that didn't work, not because they were great, but because people wanted them to be successful. It wasn't until season 3 of Newlyweds and Ashley Simpson and some of that stuff where I started to see a trend, and like, oh, people just love to hate on people. Like there's a real hater nation going on here, but they show up and they buy stuff, but they still want to see you fail. But that's what happens, unfortunately.
I love the perspective, man, because yeah, you're right. I think we can't do this in fear. And I think when you guarantee tomorrow, then that sucks that out of your brain, right? You don't get that mind junk in the way, and it lets you relax a little bit, and that's sometimes is what it takes to be able to create. And also I think I wanted to ask you this. When we create a lot of this content right now, this is a piece of live content. We've got Florence who's in the house. We want to say hello to Florence, Equip Institute. Hey, everybody. Thank you. Great question. You're the second person to tell me that today. And that is, when we create all this content, and this is a live show, and we're engaging with people, and it's fun, but we're also talking. We also took this very seriously. Like, Vinny, you didn't just like not think about this. You sent me an email earlier this week, and you were just kind of like, this is the lane I want to go in, and we really put our best behind this thing, because personally, I feel like it's part of my legacy. If tomorrow my number's up, this content's going to live beyond me, right? As long as Zuckerberg and Musk allow it to be, on the pipes, it's going to live beyond me. But I have a recorded, location for it, and some land that I own that it will live on. Talk about that in terms of your content legacy, and then the legacy of the content of the people you work with.
Oh man, I mean, like Viacom got bought out by a parent company, and then a month later deleted everything, its entire digital archive of the Daily Show online. I had some brilliant skits that I was that I was not just cast in, that I was featured in on the Daily Show with John Oliver as my skit mate, look, television in America is part of the American Stock Exchange. So there's always going to be a financial responsibility to earning income because of the way that media was structured. And when you look at who owns probably most of the stock in those TV networks, it's probably the people who own the brands that advertise on those as well. And TV was really, in this world of media, TV was, in a way, I mean, look, radio came out first. We needed TV to be able to show people how to do things, perhaps, but that's not what TV was in the 60s and 50s. It was talk shows, and everything that you do on the radio, they're probably saying, why do we need these video radio shows? Who's going to watch a late night video radio show? Right? Like, you think about the benefit though is, I would say this. I grew up in television at a point in time where I had to go to the channel that I needed to watch. And even now I have to get the subscription, and I have to go to the app, and there's a certain place that I'm required to go to. But in podcasting, I have the ability for that content to come to me. In a world of media that's been so push centric, when media focuses on the pull, when I can go to Netflix and have a personal list for 5 hours, that doesn't even make me itch to want to click on what else is playing on Netflix. I would be happy to see what Netflix thinks I should be watching, because it's surrounding me with my friends and the content that they're watching. By the way, why can't I see what you're watching on Netflix? This is my number one. You know how hot my TV list would be with the TV shows that I've created. Like, I'm like, why can't I be personal TV guide for the people who care about what I watch?
Curated content. Yeah.
That's where it's from. Community. I mean, whether we're in the creator economy now, whether we head to the community economy or the curator economy, they're both the same archetype.
Sure.
They're both not AI. They're both people who, with a sense of taste, are going to be required to manually make selections and approval that will better that environment and that experience. We can use AI to do some of that stuff, scrape info and data and stuff, But
we used to walk into record stores. Remember those, Vinny? You'd walk into a record store and you'd walk into Virgin Megastore and you'd see the new releases, but you'd also find your friend who told you about buying the Britney Spears album that came out, and maybe she can recommend you something else that week because you've trusted that person. Obviously that's maybe a archaic to some people when they hear that, but it's really no different online when you're like, I'm out of shows to watch. Let me go see what Vinny's watched and what he thinks. Like I just asked Jim the other week. I was like, okay, we're up to date on A Handmaid's Tale. What are you guys watching, right? And so
the Mighty Gemstones.
The Mighty Gemstones on Max. Yeah, there it is.
Black Mirror yet? Black Mirror?
Oh God, that sticks with me, man. Some of those, it's just like, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, okay, this one's sticking with me a little bit.
But also, look, media there's this idea, water cooler moments. These are, the idea that we were watching TV at night with our family. We would come home to work the next day. Oh, did you see that movie? Did you watch that game? Like, these are the things that would congregate us all together. Shared experiences are always at the base of every single relationship. Shared experiences are one of the strongest foundations you can bring into a relationship. So if I can share more of my media with people, I didn't build my experience, my reputation. I said because I'm like so dead serious. I didn't build my reputation today because I did such a good job making the TV shows that I made 20 years ago. I think that I have my reputation today because you enjoyed watching those and I enjoyed making them and we enjoy talking about them.
Yeah.
I like to think that that's how I feel about my past. I'm certainly not riding on the coattails of it still, because it's not even high def. I guess it's joked around. It's not even 720. It's not even like you can't even get it on YouTube. It's not allowed. Like
it's still in black and white. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's still in.
So Vinny, Vinny, part of your blueprint as well is you've talked about creator marketing platforms.
Yeah.
Where do you see that going?
Networks,
is that
right? This is networks too. This is a network of so there are brands that are out there that are looking for creators, people who have output. Podcasters are creators. We have output. In fact, I made $9,000 on one of these creator marketing platforms because Facebook was hiring a bunch of creators to use the Reels feature on their company pages. So if you had a company page on Facebook, I did this 3 years ago. All I had to do was post every single day, 5 days a week. I had to post on Reels. So I posted my podcast content that I was going to post anyway. And I just added Facebook to it. And that's literally, as I launched my podcast, how I first monetized my content. And I want to say, I'm a media guy. Like, there's a lot of ways to make money. That was not on my list, but I put my name on a network. It was FOHR. I put my name on a network called Creator Marketing Platform. And these are people, you know how PodMatch for us, it's an all-in-one. They do kind of a lot. So these platforms are hired by brands to find people like us.
Yeah,
they do the deal with us. They pay us. They manage our deliverables. They are our point person on the project. And I've made a good amount of money by putting my name on these platforms to be discovered and found. That's what I learned from casting. Like when there's an opportunity to put your name to be discovered, there's an ingestion of information, you sign up. That's exactly how I got picked to be on the LinkedIn Podcast Network. There was no application for the LinkedIn Podcast Network. There was just an application for LinkedIn creators. And my application from that made its way through to the LinkedIn Podcast team. They made a decision without even knowing without us even knowing that we were even in contention for it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But when LinkedIn says they're looking for information, rush and put that in. So like, here's my big LinkedIn give is LinkedIn has a big video feed right now, and there's a lot of traction happening on this video feed. But if you're watching video feed, you might say to yourself, I'm seeing the same people over and over again. And one person even said to me that they thought LinkedIn was just in bed with the same people, and they're just going to keep showing the same thing over and over again. And I said, no, that's not true. What happens here is you have to go to buildyourvoice.linkedin.com, and you have to manually take your submission link and you have to manually apply it to the LinkedIn editorial team for manual approval and review of your video. And then if that works, then they will put it in the feed. They'll shoot you an email and they'll say confirmed. And if not, then you'll get an email and say, this wasn't quite right. Here's what to do moving forward. So build your voice. .linkedin.com. If you want your videos to be on the video feed, you have to apply. And that's something that they just made public about 3 months ago. So,
and I was today years old when I figured it.
Say that again.
So it's Airtable. I was today years old when I learned that, and I like these other people you're talking about. I saw it and I'm like, okay, I'm cranking out more vertical video, and like it's not showing up there. Why is it not showing up there? Because we needed this.
We didn't talk to Vinny.
Here we are. 1 hour into the interview, and we just got the biggest golden nugget. So those of you who have stuck around, you're welcome. So we got to give everybody the details, man, because they've got to go to all the spots. And it's ihaveapodcast.com, but it's also, let me make sure I have I'm pushing the right buttons here. It's vpetalent.com. And I know that there was... you have perfect. A gift link that's on your PodMatch.
Yeah.
And so that link is in our show notes as well. This is a visibility toolkit. So folks, follow Vinny in all the places, certainly on LinkedIn or I should say LinkedIn. It is a massive, you're a massive resource for information. You just gave us a huge, and our audience, thank you for that, Vinny, a huge nugget in terms of how to get approved to be in their vertical video feed. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, follow this guy, like, subscribe, do all the things. And if you wanted to dig deeper into this world, get more visibility, then you go to vpe.tv, and there's all kinds of places and things that you're able to do. Vinny, I want to, first of all, thank you for taking the time and doing this. I know we wanted to do so much more than what we got to. So I feel like there's more coming, more content coming from the three of us, for sure. But I did want to roll it over to you. I wanted to give you the last word, and make sure that we cover off everything that you wanted to cover off today.
Look, if your visibility is your viability, if the way you're seen helps you create the content and the impact that you need to make, then that's someone that I can support. And reach out to me on LinkedIn. And you've joked a couple of times that hashtag LinkedIn is the best way to network and join in conversations that I'm actively in. That's where the change is happening. I operate today like I'm promised tomorrow, and I'm building relationships that way too. It's why I like to think I still have some of the friends that I've had for 30 years, not because of the projects, but because of the way that we've got there. People matter. People trust people. And I don't know what's ahead in store for us. I do not know the future, but I do know we are the ones who will make it. And I trust us, and I believe in us, and I want to support us. So thank you for the space, guys, and the opportunity to speak up and speak out.
People matter.
Always a pleasure, Vinny.
Yeah, people matter. Vinnie Potestivo, you matter. And to everyone else, don't fear the gear.